I think my big advice would be three main things. One is don't be afraid to do master studies. I know I mention it a lot, but it's one of the biggest things that is going to be super helpful. And we're going to kind of see it today when we get to the Puss in Boots analysis, is when you study other animations, when you study other poses, when you study real life, doing master studies and just analyzing things is what allows you to understand how things work and what you can do. It gives you the ideas and the potential of what can be created. If we don't have that, we tend to focus too much on just what we think it should look like or what we've already seen just in our like passing pose or passing like just, oh, that was cool. And then that's it. No extra thought in there. And what that creates is very cliche animation. Animation that's just mundane and it can look good, but it's honestly mostly ends up boring. So master studies is what allows you to expand your range and really learn new things. So that's going to be number one for me. I love master studies. Number two is don't be afraid of failure. And this is the hard one. It's probably the hardest of any advice you'll ever get, is we need to embrace failure. Doesn't mean we have to like it, but don't let failure stop you and you go, oh, I'm never going to be an animator. The thing with animation and the thing with any art is that you actually learn a lot more from your mistakes than you do from your successes, as long as you think through them. A lot of people, when they fail, they will animate a shot, for example, and then they'll play it back and it doesn't look good. Oh, okay, scrap it, move on. Well, did that help you at all? Not, it might have helped a little bit, but if you just throw it away right away, how do you know not to do the same thing? If you fail at something, you need to take the time to go, okay, objectively, what failed? Not emotionally, because emotionally we'll just go, it sucks. It failed because it sucks and it's terrible and we hate it. No. We look at it and go, okay, objectively, why is this not working compared to something else? Maybe I'm animating an action scene and there's something about it that just doesn't look interesting compared to when I look at some anime that I really like or some animated action film. Why? And if you can answer that question, if you can find out, okay, what did I do wrong? What is it about my poses that don't look right? What is it about my animation that feels unappealing or boring or dull or whatever it is? If you can answer that, you'll know what not to do in the future. You'll know what to avoid. And when you know how to do when you know what to avoid, you're going to be able to start learning how to adjust your workflow to avoid that in the first place and not have to fix it every time. So you just get it right the first time. So that's kind of the big thing, is being able to analyze your mistakes. The moment that you can do that, you're going to progress and grow super fast as an animator, because sure, you're making mistakes, but you're not repeating mistakes, or at least not as often. So I would definitely, that would be one of the big advices, because when I was starting out, I would take failure very personally. And I still do, honestly. I'm a perfectionist, which is not a good thing, at least not for me. I try to make things too perfect too often, and it ends up that I never actually finish it correctly because it reaches a point where it's not perfect enough. Not a good thing to do. So be okay with failure and learning from failure. And then the third thing is, let's see, there's a few different pieces of advice, but I want the top three. I think the third big one that I would have is, as much as you can be passionate about learning animation and wanting to, like, or whatever it is, art, animation, anything. If you're super passionate about it, that is a great thing. But don't forget to live a life as well. Don't forget to go outside, to spend time with friends, to do things that aren't animation related and just enjoy existing, I guess you could say. the big reason for that is, as animators, a lot of times we are expected to animate life. That's the whole point. We want to bring a character to life. And if you don't experience life, if you don't go outside and see the different people, if you don't see lyrics, trying to speak while there's lyrics is pulling my brain in weird directions. So if you don't go out and interact with the world and see how different people do different things, a good example of going to a coffee shop and just paying attention to how every different person stands while they're waiting in line. We're not robots. We don't all just stand exactly the same way, every single person. Some people stand much more straight up. Some people relax a little bit more. Some people are on their phone. Some people are reading a book. Some people are just twiddling their thumbs. Everyone's doing something slightly different. And if you start paying attention to that, those are all little elements that you can put into different shots and make your characters really come to life versus just being a character, a rig that's moving. No, they'll suddenly be a person, a real living, breathing character on screen. So that would be my third big piece of advice. Don't just fall into the trap of, I'm going to live life later. Because honestly, you never know how much later there is. Which seems like, especially when you're young, you think, oh yeah, I've got plenty of life. It goes by quicker than you think, especially if you get too caught up in just focusing on one thing, on working. And it's not going to be long before you look back and go, whoa, wait, what did I do recently? What did I get to even see my friends? Time passes pretty quick sometimes. So hopefully that helps. And those are probably the three big things that, at least when I started, I wish I had learned, because I didn't take time to live life. I burnt myself out, and I would say I probably burnt out 5+ years of my life just from working way too hard, which is not good, especially when you do have a limit of how many years you have.